Okay, so this is, so once this is wired up, hopefully you can start to see this. So let's imagine this is, these are tropes. Tropes are going to be the circles, and then stories. Okay, and should have a little flag you can, right? Or just a zapper. That would be good. It'd be an interesting thing. Professor is connected to electrodes. I just show pictures of cats the whole time. So here's a trope. So we're going to start. So imagine we're in this bipartite. We're in this network, but what we want to do now is like traverse around it. So we're going to start at a trope. We're going to go out to its stories, and then up to all of the other tropes, and then keep doing that. We're going to bounce back and forth between these two categories. And the thing I was saying is if there are 10,000 of these and 100,000 of these, because it's randomly wired up, you're not going to have any little triangles or closed loops, right? We know this about random networks in general. Locally, they're branching things, so you're going to go pop out to a bunch, and then when you go back up to tropes, you're not going to go back to the same one, right? I mean, you can't anyway because you're forced, but you're not going to do that within a few steps.
We're just going to ask, so when you start at a trope, do you go to every story that contains that trope, or do you go to one story with it?
Okay, yeah. So the conceit of this is that it's every story that contains that trope, right? So a connection.
The center there is your first trope. You go to the 5 stories that contain
Yes.
that trope.
Yes.
And then for each of those stories, you go to the other tropes that aren't
Right.
original.
Right. So this one has 3 tropes. Yeah, exactly. So these are, and because it's random, what we're going to be able to do is imagine like starting at one of these points and then tracing out all of these things, bouncing between these pieces. If you step back from that, you realize you could actually pick it all up and there won't be any closed loops in here, right? You won't go to a thing, to this, and then back to here. I mean, in a small enough thing, yes, it'll happen now and then, but statistically, it's going to start to look like this. So what we really have is a network we've had before, right? We've sort of looked at random networks quite a bit, but it's going to be one that has alternating degree distributions. So that's a nice way to think about it. So you think about spreading on it, spreading will totally be a doable thing we can solve, but instead of just thinking about, okay, this one has so many friends, and then this one has so many other friends, and that's really what we need to know, right? So the crucial thing was, if I take a random edge and I hit someone, how many other friends do they have, or how many other, for contagion, how many new ones do they infect? If that's at least one, then it spreads exponentially. Now we have to have these 2 steps. We have to say that the number of other tropes a story has times the number of other stories a trope has, those 2 things multiplied together have to be greater than 1. Because you're going to bounce back and forth. So if this was, you got 10 of these, but you only get, like 0.01 here, then it's going to die out. Even though there's a big branching here, there's not enough at this next level. Just waving. Not drowning.
So say you start out...
Drowning. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you have like tropes 1 to 5 and stories 1 to 5. You start out with trope 1 and it goes to all 5 stories. Is it possible for all 5 stories to...
You only have 5 and 5?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to be... That's going to be a specific little structure. This is for large-scale things that are where there's plenty of randomness. So,
can you have friend 2006 and friend 2006 coming off of 2 different people?
so in reality, absolutely. And the bipartite affiliation. The generalized affiliation model that we built for small worlds, that has a lot of that kind of thing, right? And anything where there's some natural growth, right? So triadic closure type things and so on. They will give you those structures, yeah. So point of this is not to think of, I'm just using this as sort of a backbone and example, just to have words that I can mess up, stories and tropes, but it could be boards and directors, whatever you want, movies and actors. That's just a little sort of thread to help. It doesn't mean those things are really like that. Squares and circles, right? I mean, it really could be just squares and circles, and the circles have labels. You know, this is circle A, this is circle B, C, so on and so on, right? We could just have that. They could all be labeled, you know, da-da-da. So this is an important realization of these things. And you know, it may not be clear in a lot of ways that you might come across this, but this is, for these random ones, the structure that's important.